What's going on? It's Suck and I'm back with a brand new video on SuperDuprTech, and in today's video I'll be showing you the results that I got when running a number of different benchmarking tests on the brand new iPhone 16 Pro Max. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers, so if you are new around here, then I must ask you to hit the subscribe button, clicking the bell to be notified when I upload any of my up and coming videos. But without any further ado, let's hit the titles. So the first benchmarking application which I ran on this iPhone 16 Pro Max was Geekbench 6. Now I started off by running the CPU test, and when running this test I got a single core score of 3,258 along with a multi-core score of 7,968. I also wanted to test the GPU's performance through Geekbench 6, so I ran the Metal Compute test, and when running this test I got a score of 32,850. I also wanted to test the updated neural engine found in the A18 Pro chip within this iPhone 16 Pro Max. So I then ran the Geekbench AI test, and when running the CPU test I got a single precision score of 4,378 along with a half precision score of 7,567, and I also got a quantized CPU score of 6,016. When testing the machine learning performance through the GPU, I got a single precision score of 5,721 along with a half precision score of 6,715, and I also got a quantized GPU score of 6,037. And when it comes to testing the updated neural engine within the A18 Pro on this brand new iPhone, I got a single precision score of 4,287 along with a half precision score of 31,875, and I also got a quantized score of 43,968, which is around a 32% increase in performance when compared to the A17 Pro found within the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So I now wanted to start testing the graphics capabilities of the A18 Pro chip within this iPhone 16 Pro Max. So I then ran GFX Bench Metal. Now GFX Bench runs a number of different tests which vary from both on and off screen, which range from both higher and lower levels of intensity. Now in the interest of saving a little bit of time, I have calculated the average across these categories, but as always I will show you each individual result. So the average that I got for the higher intensive tasks was a mixed frame rate of 107.29 frames per second, whereas for the lower level intensive tasks I got an average frame rate of 280.61 frames per second. I then wanted to further test the GPU of this iPhone 16 Pro Max, so I then ran a number of different benchmark GPU tests, and when running the official native test at medium settings, which is at a resolution of 2778 by 1284, I got an average frame rate of 177.48 frames per second, which also gives us a score of 17,748. I also wanted to see how this smartphone would perform when the graphics settings were lowered down to Full HD, that's 1920 by 1080, with the graphics quality set to medium. The iPhone 16 Pro Max averaged 240.64 frames per second, which is basically a score of 24,064. I also ran the benchmark GPU test at a 4K resolution or UHD, that's 3840 by 2160, with the graphics settings set to medium, and when running this test at these settings it averaged 76.23 frames per second or a score of 7,622. I then ran a number of different graphics tests from 3D Mark and started off with the wildlife graphics test, and as standard it pretty much maxed it out, with it also averaging a frame rate of 59.2 frames per second. I also ran the wildlife stress test, and when running this test the best score this iPhone 16 Pro Max scored was 9,679, with its lowest being 8,982. I then ran the Wildlife Extreme test, and when running this test the iPhone 16 Pro Max scored 3,500, with it coming in with an average frame rate of 21 frames per second, which interestingly enough is considerably less than what I've seen with the OnePlus 12, with it scoring 4,206, with it coming in with an average frame rate of 25.19 frames per second. I also ran the Wildlife Extreme stress test, and when running this test, the best score that the iPhone 16 Pro Max achieved was a score of 3,565, with its lowest score being 2,663. Which once again is noticeably less than what I've seen with the OnePlus 12, with it scoring 3,863 on the top end, with it also scoring 3,789 on the lower. I also ran the Solar Bay test, and when running this test on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, it scored 6,226, with it coming in with an average frame rate of 23.7 frames per second, which once again is considerably lower than the 29.05 frames per second we've seen with the OnePlus 12. I then ran the Solar Bay stress test, and when running this test on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, the best score it achieved was 6,328, with it coming in with a lower score of 4,824, which is considerably less than what we've seen with the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, with the highest it scored being 6,766, with its lowest being 6,107. I then ran the Steel Nomad light test, and the iPhone 16 Pro Max scored 1,346, with it averaging a frame rate of 10 frames per second. However, when it comes to running the Steel Nomad light stress test, the best score that the iPhone 16 Pro Max scored was 1,399, with its lowest being 1,166. And when running this test, it was much better than the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, which on the high end scored 1,255, and on the low end it scored 966. I then wanted to test the networking capabilities of the iPhone 16 Pro Max, so I ran a network speed test. And when running the Wi-Fi speed test, I got download speeds of 564 megabits per second, with Wi-Fi upload speeds of 97.6 megabits per second. I also wanted to test the cellular capabilities of the iPhone 16 Pro Max here in the UK using the EE network, and when running this test I got cellular download speeds of 114 megabits per second and cellular upload speeds of 19.7 megabits per second. I also ran the Antutu benchmark, which runs a number of different tests to test the CPU, GPU, storage and the system memory. Now when running this test on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, it scored 1,552,705. Also through Antutu I ran their storage speed test, and when running this test I got sequential read speeds of 351.9 megabytes per second. I also got sequential write speeds of 909.1 megabytes per second, along with random read speeds of 284.3 megabytes per second and random write speeds of 64.7 megabytes per second. I also ran the Antutu HTML browser benchmark, and when running this test, the iPhone 16 Pro Max scored 86,543. I also ran Speedometer 2.0, which is a browser benchmark, and got a score of 518, and when running the latest Speedometer test, it came in with a score of 30.2. I then ran the Jazz Disk benchmark, and it's important to quickly note that this is the entry 16 Pro Max, which means it has 256 gigabytes of storage. So when running this test, I got sequential read speeds of 1,651.61 megabytes per second, with sequential write speeds of 1,422.22 megabytes per second. And when testing the RAM speeds, I got random read speeds of 41.16 megabytes per second, with random write speeds of 31.98 megabytes per second. So there you have it, that's the test that I've ran on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. I will be uploading a number of videos over the coming days in which I'll be comparing the performance of this smartphone to the likings of other Android devices, along with last year's iPhone 15 Pro Max and an iPhone from a few years ago, the 12 Pro Max. So be sure to subscribe, smacking that bell icon if you want to be notified when those videos get uploaded. Be sure to go and hit me up on my social media, X and Instagram. I'll leave them linked down below in this video's description. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care and have a good one.